things got slippery, spinning all over the place. And that was just Senator Gardner trying to dodge the big question he won't answer.
Look, I can see that you guys are going to continue to drill on this.
His agitated exchange with journalists drew immediate praise from one fan, President Trump. Voters in the suburbs are seeing a strange argument against a tax hike. And that's probably because it was written by supporters of the tax increase. A warning for Nuggets fans: be careful what you say about China at the Pepsi Center. A look at free speech in the can. And learning the language of hunting season in Colorado. Keep your chicken wing up. This is next. An inch of snow in Denver. We begin tonight's team coverage. No, we don't. No, it's an inch of snow. But that was a wild temperature swing, though, huh? 83 and sunny yesterday. Today's high, 29. Snowy, sloppy out. Shock to the system even when you told us it.
I know, right? The views, though, they look pretty, even though we did see only an inch here officially out at the airport in Denver downtown, a little bit more, and up in the foothills like Estes Park closer to 7, 4 near Arvada, Golden at 3, and 2 for Highlands Ranch. The storm system was a fast mover. It rolled in, and now it is rolling right on out. Some snow showers still going across the eastern plains, another little batch setting up around the I-25 corridor, but that shouldn't last long. Tonight, it's all about the cold. We're down to 12 this evening. Early tomorrow morning, we'll be in the teens across the plains, single digits going way up high, and a freeze warning going across the eastern plains and in southern Colorado. So keep that in mind. But most of the snow pretty much done. By tomorrow morning, we wake up to sunshine, and it continues throughout the entire day. The storm system moves out, high pressure moves in. It brings us a cool day tomorrow, but then a big warm up as we head toward the weekend. Daytime highs back to the upper 40s for us tomorrow, and that's about 20 degrees cooler than our average. But hey, warmer than today. 30s and 40s going way up high, and then you'll notice in the 7-day forecast, 63 Saturday, 70 if you're heading to the Broncos game. Looking really nice. The 70s stick around for the most part into next week with plenty of sunshine, so we are going to be back to the shorts kind of weather. Shorts and sweatshirts, is that your thing, Kyle?
That is my thing. You know my thing.
I do.
Thank you, Danielle. So, we get those voter guides in the mail before each election. And there will be an argument in there for and against each tax increase, so you can make an informed decision. The argument against a tax hike in Jefferson County sounds a little funny. And as it turns out, that against argument in the voter guide was actually written by supporters of the tax hike. How in the world is that allowed? Our Steve Steger found out.
Natalie Menton is running the campaign against a tax increase in Jefferson County, Proposition 1A.
This is not at all what our side is representing.
She's talking about the comments in the official election notice from Jefferson County. Under the against side is a strange argument suggesting the county shouldn't raise taxes and instead balance the budget by cutting public safety and transportation funding.
The sabotage statements made it look like is that we at all costs wanted to just cut, and that is not our position.
A public records request later, Menton tracked the comments back to a man named John Gill.
John Gill shares the same voter address as the registered agent for the Yes campaign.
And a couple of clicks and a look at the data on the file later, it says it was authored by the leader of the pro-tax campaign, a woman named Rebecca Winning.
We wanted to make sure that factual information was included in the con statement.
Winning told me she wrote these comments with her husband because they were concerned that the con statement would include misleading information.
If your husband is planning to vote in favor of it, isn't that misleading?
I think the purpose of both the pro and the con statement is to educate voters on the facts. And that's what we were trying to do.
Technically, there's nothing wrong with this. Jefferson County Clerk George Stern says as long as a registered voter makes the comments, they have to be published.
I have to assume goodwill and publish them. That's what the statute tells me.
Surprisingly, all sides of this agree. That law could use a little updating.
Oh, it's definitely dirty politics.
Even Rebecca Winning, the head of the Yes campaign, who wrote, of all things, a no argument.
I don't think the opposition should be writing the pro statement or that we should be writing the con statement, but we didn't know what else to do.
So state law requires if you're going to submit comments, you have to include your address and a signature. This comment included neither, but the county clerk says the office verified the voter's information with the email address. Menton believes that's a violation of state law, so she filed a complaint with the Secretary of State's office. That office is now investigating. Kyle.
So as opposed to the county level system of just any old rando writes in some rant and they put it in the book, the state has a better system for informing voters.
Yeah, so there's a commission that actually looks at the information that goes into your blue book. And a lot of the arguments that I've heard from county clerks today, at least two of them say, including the one we interviewed, maybe the county level ought to look at how the state does it to get rid of this whole problem. Because I talked to county clerks from the past and say they've seen this before. It's happened. Used to be mostly pro-Tabor people who would write a pro-tax increase argument, but this time it's flipped around.
Well, if it's that easy to game the system, and now we've said it on TV, so now everybody knows that you can game the system. All right. Thanks, Steve. Republican Senator Cory Gardner knew that he would eventually have to emerge in public, where one big question awaited him and other Republican senators: whether it's appropriate for any president to ask foreign governments to investigate an opponent. Our Anusha Roy hoped to take yes or no for an answer. Gardner wasn't interested.
This is what we're going to get into. The Senate Intelligence Committee is having an investigation, a bipartisan investigation. Unfortunately, though, what we've seen is a very political process take over. If you look what Al Green in Texas, member of Congress, has said, we need to impeach President Trump now because we might not be able to beat him in November. That's about politics. That's not what the serious investigation should be about.
But is it?
Joe, I've answered your question.
No, you didn't. Is it
a yes or no?
Well, here's what we see in the House of Representatives. You see a very partisan process taking place. Why is it that when you all do stories or we see reports in the news, it's about 4 states? Colorado, Arizona, Maine, and North Carolina. Seems to be about politics and elections other than the serious process that it is.
But the question is it appropriate for a president
Look, I think we are going to have an investigation.
To ask a foreign government to investigate.
Investigation.
But Senator, it's a yes or no question.
Investigation. It's an answer that you get from a very serious investigation.
Taking politics out of it, just in general.
Who's taking politics out of it? You are? Because that would be the first time I'd seen that if the politics are taken out of it.
Well, no,
I've never seen the press take the politics out of this. That's why they write about 4 states.
Well, it's about an election, Senator.
Oh, it is about an election, so that's about politics.
Senator Gardner grew increasingly agitated during 2 interactions with journalists today. Again, we should note, we meet him at these public events because he ignores our interview requests. So let's bring in Anusha Roy, who spoke with the senator today. You also asked him why he's blaming Halliburton layoffs on the Western Slope on Democrats' new oil and gas regulations, because we talked about it here yesterday, Anusha, these regulations are just being written in our state. And the Halliburton layoffs aren't just here. They're in Wyoming and North Dakota and New Mexico as well.
Yeah, and we definitely know that Senator Gardner doesn't like SB 181, which Democrats passed to force the state to emphasize health and safety when regulating oil and gas development. Gardner also brought that up at today's chamber event.
Producers in Colorado and in Texas and in North Dakota and in domestic energy production, which has made the United States energy secure, has helped insulate us from terror in the Middle East. Countries that really don't like us, manipulations by OPEC and others.
So we wanted to ask specifically about his tweets tying layoffs in 4 states to new regulations that only apply to Colorado. Here's what he had to say.
Senate Bill 181 is having a negative impact on businesses. You can now see cities that have put in, municipalities that have put in place moratoriums. Permitting is down, and many companies that have declared bankruptcy have cited Senate Bill 181. So that's a big challenge.
You tweeted that Colorado Democrats...
You didn't like the tweet? Who are you with?
I'm with 9 News.
So you must have your own opinion. What's your opinion?
Well, no, I was just asking about the tweet that you said about the Halliburton layoffs.
It's a shame they lost their jobs. And Senate Bill 181
sure,
having an impact.
but you're talking about Colorado Democrats and a law that was passed, but how are you able to link that to what happened in 4 other states?
Well, the Associated Press article talked about it. The Associated Press article talked about the loss of jobs as it relates to Senate Bill 181 in Colorado.
So Halliburton hasn't come out and made the claim Senator Gardner did. The oil field supply company has been laying off workers for months across North America and not just in Colorado. For a little perspective on that as well.
Senator Gardner has built his career on the fact that he is, in fact, a really friendly guy. He's just a very nice guy to talk to. So this is kind of out of character for him. We do know that at least one person really liked the way that he took on journalists today.
Yeah, we saw the president actually like that clip that's been circulating on Twitter that we also just showed. Ended up up liking that clip a couple of hours ago.
On Twitter, you hit the like button.
On the Twitter, like button.
Instant feedback, instant approval. All right, thank you, Anusha. The defense attorney in one of Colorado's most high-profile criminal cases right now is in a ton of legal trouble himself. And today, prosecutors in court were like, are we sure that guy over there is up to doing this? The case we're talking about is the semi-truck crash and fire that killed 4 people on I-70 in April. The driver, Rohel Aguilera Medeiros, was in court today for what should have been his arraignment. He was there with his attorney, Rob Cory, who has been racking up a lot of courtroom time of his own. Cory's facing a series of criminal charges in Denver. Today, prosecutors in Jeffco asked the judge whether Cory should be allowed to stay on this big case. And our legal expert says that's a fair question.
It's really hard to see how a lawyer who's facing 3 separate criminal cases can provide meaningful representation to the criminally accused. But it's up to the criminally accused, not to members of the public or even the Supreme Court.
Prosecutors are trying to head off a situation where if the defendant is convicted, he then has a pretty easy appeal that he didn't get good representation from Cory. Prosecutors say that Cory hasn't even bothered to download the discovery materials in this case for 3 months. Our October snow day was a reminder in Jefferson County that early snow can be worse, a lot worse. And if you want to support the protesters in Hong Kong, be very careful what you say or do at Nuggets games. Happy Thursday to everybody who buys their health insurance on the state's healthcare exchange, because those plans are about to get 20% cheaper. The rates were unveiled today, and the decrease is something we've told you about. It comes from the new reinsurance program, which was created by the state legislature and then approved by the Trump administration. It means that federal dollars come in to insurance companies to pay for the most expensive claims, and that should lower premiums for other Coloradans. The biggest savings are expected in rural areas of the state where health care tends to be the most expensive. This is the first time the premiums have gone down since the state's exchange was started 6 years ago. It's worth noting that those reduced premiums that are subsidized with the federal dollars, they would increase again if the Affordable Care Act goes away. So this is a sad day for Colorado's oldest brewery. Boulder Beer, on the scene since 1979, has announced it is downsizing significantly in order to survive. Boulder Beer is no longer going to package and distribute its beers. It's only going to serve them in small batches at the brew pub. Competition is really tough for breweries that want to compete for shelf space for cans and bottles. So Boulder is going to retreat from that market and hope to make it based on the brew pub alone. On this Throwback Thursday, Jefferson County is reminding everyone that early snows are not unusual in Colorado, and today's wasn't that bad. 50 years ago today, Jeffco was socked in by a second early season storm. A week after the first storm had piled up 24 inches in Golden, another storm came through and dumped 16 inches. There are people who lost phone service for a whole weekend. Not many people are worried about their landlines today. Some things change, some things stay the same. We complain about the snow. We joke about the snow. I did not expect to be inspired by the snow this morning. I haven't expected a lot of milestones of fatherhood. I tend to hit them like rumble strips on the side of the highway. Woo, didn't realize we were that close. Had one of them this morning. So I'm getting my 20-month-old daughter up for the day, and she points out the window, rain. And my first thought was, how have we not taught this child the word snow? And then I thought, well, yeah, I mean, she was too young last winter, and it's only October 10th. Right now, all of her books are about fall leaves and Halloween pumpkins. So this morning, we watched the snow together. We talked about the snow together. And the world was fresh and new and wonderful. And if you're a parent, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, but I am hoping that you don't mind experiencing it again here for the first time. Fresh and new and wonderful. Nuggets fans, be warned. If you want to protest the NBA bowing to China, do not do it at the Pepsi Center. Twice this week, fans who took signs supporting the protesters in Hong Kong were kicked out of NBA games or had their signs confiscated. It happened at a 76ers game in Philadelphia on Tuesday and at a Washington Wizards game last night. So the Nuggets are in preseason play, so we thought we would check out the rules should fans decide to show support for Hong Kong in Denver. We called a bunch of people and couldn't get anybody there to talk to us about their policy or how it would be enforced. So all I can tell you is what it says. The Pepsi Center's policy prohibits any signs with political messages, and they're allowed to do that because it's their private property. All right, so how much is it worth to you to be able to watch the Nuggets on television or the Avs? The value of your viewership to Comcast is $1.25. The cable provider is giving customers a partial refund for the regional sports network that they cannot watch right now due to a contract dispute. Altitude's contracts with Comcast, Dish, and DirecTV ended in August. Negotiations continue while those seasons get rolling, so Comcast customers are getting back a whopping $1.25 out of their $8 monthly local sports fee. We asked Dish and DirecTV if they're also issuing refunds. Dish says it's case by case, so I guess you got to call up and fight with them. DirecTV didn't respond to us. Going hunting in Colorado? Gotta know the lingo.
You keep your chicken wing up, staying in your gun. We call it cheek weld.
I don't know what any of that means, but that guy knows, and he's teaching the kid. Next. While some of us were sitting in snow traffic grumbling, other Coloradans were enjoying a day out hunting. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has a new program to attract more young people to the sport. And part of it is just learning the language.
Other than the wind, I'd say today is one of the best days to be out there.
Logan Wilkins with Colorado Parks and Wildlife loves to hunt.
I've got 2 kids at home that are 2 and 4, and I take them turkey hunting with me on little adventures and things like that.
More than hunting, though, he loves to teach.
Hold it, okay? There you go.
He helped pilot a rookie sportsman program that introduces those interested to everything hunting, including proper language.
They learn all sorts of terms that the hunting community commonly uses.
Like, keep your chicken wing up.
You want to have the butt of the rifle kind of in this pocket between your collarbone and your shoulder socket.
How about staying in your gun?
Staying in your gun is going to revolve around keeping that gun, that butt stock, pressed firmly against your shoulder right in that pocket. You don't want to pull it away before the gunfire goes off.
Cheek weld?
So if you welded 2 pieces of metal together, they're not coming apart. So we want to place our cheekbone right here up against that buttstock to see a good sight picture.
These are just a few terms Wilkins wants to pass on, but more importantly, he wants to share the beauty of Colorado's natural resources.
So if it wasn't for sportsmen, we wouldn't have the wildlife that we do, and if it's not for sportsmen, we won't keep it either.
For Next, I'm Tom Cole.
Chicken wing. Want to salute some brave souls with cold extremities today? Plus your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today are all the people who biked to work in the snow. That's hardcore. I mean, you got to be dedicated. Our friend Linda Katsaftis saw that cyclist struggling through downtown Denver in the snow. Melissa saw somebody moving faster than the traffic on Highway 93. And Reed offered this view, the cyclist along the Cherry Creek Trail. Reed was biking to work himself. What's the most Colorado thing you saw today? Share it with us using the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com. Ray Best writes in to say that he likes Senator Cory Gardner's approach today. Said, nice to see a grown-up attitude concerning waiting for the investigation to present the facts. Anything else is opinions or speculation. Kate Sherman Snap liked the fact that our Anusha Roy tried to get a yes or no answer to a yes or no question. Good on you for trying, Anusha. See you next time.